Hey guys, welcome to the channel. It's Jack with Stronghold Strength and Conditioning. And today I've got a quick 10-minute wrist stretching and strengthening routine that you can follow right along with. But before we get into it, make sure you take a moment and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on future content like this. Every Thursday, I'm putting out videos showing you how to resolve aches and pains, prevent injuries, and overall optimize your performance inside the gym and outside of it in your daily life and routine. And it doesn't get much better than that. So take advantage of it. Ready? Let's go ahead and dive into this one. All right, guys, like I said, today's routine is a quick 10-minute wrist stretching and strengthening mobility routine. So we're gonna be using both passive and active techniques to help restore the full range of motion and flexibility around that wrist there. If you have any aches and pains, we'll take it at a pace that you can handle and give you some alternatives if you need. Really, this should be helpful all the way around to help restore that range of motion and get you back to fully functioning wrists, which are an extremely important place in our body that we need to have full range of motion to generate stability through our body in a good way. If we don't have the full range of motion, we're going to lack stability, and often we see pain in the shoulder as a result, or even up at the elbow. So it can cause issues upstream from it if we don't have the range of motion that we should at the wrist and the strength that we should at the wrist. So today's going to help you with that. If you're here looking to improve your overall mobility though, make sure you take a moment and drop down below in the description and check out the 7-day mobility training challenge. It's 7 days of free mobility training, no equipment necessary, and it is a guided litmus test from head to toe to help you identify where you are missing range of motion, flexibility, and motor control and patterning that is restricting your stability overall. These are all things that put you at risk for training aches and injuries. So if you suffer from constant training aches and pains or reoccurring injuries, this is something for you to check out for sure. It's completely free. You can sign up down below and get started today. All right, guys, let's get into this workout. All right, guys, there's going to be a 1-minute time window for each exercise that we're doing here. And we're going to be starting off with just a wrist gapping technique. So what you want to do is take your index and your thumb around the opposite wrist, right where those bony points are. You're going just above it in toward the hand so that the carpals and the radius and ulna where they meet, that's where we're separating. And when you squeeze that area, what you should notice is that the hand actually separates off the wrist itself, so there's space that's created, the hand extends away, and you might even feel a little bit of a stretch into the forearm depending on how tight you are there already. Now we want to relax that hand that the wrist is being grabbed on as much as possible, so we don't want to resist the extension there. We want to be able to create space at the wrist and then passively move it around using the hand that's gripping. So I'm not moving my wrist under the power of my own wrist strength there on that left side. I'm actually using my right hand to move my left hand around while there's that separation. And this might take a little bit of practice if you're not used to it, but it does give your body a little more control over that forearm musculature, telling it when it should relax and when it can engage. Here we're switching sides and going into the left hand gripping the right wrist. You might notice control differences from side to side. You might notice some cracking, popping noises, a little bit of crunchies in there. Those are all okay. We just want to move through those different ranges of motion of flexion, rotation. So we're just kind of trying different angles and seeing what we feel in there as we keep that wrist extended and separated off the hand, off the wrist there. Now we're going to bring the fingers into it a little bit more. So using your foot from a half kneeling position with the palm up, what you want to do is step on your fingers, putting all your weight down just on the fingers. We're not on the palm of the hand at all. Once that foot is trapping the fingers down to the floor, we want to try and pull the hand and wrist out from under the foot with all that pressure on. And you can try some different things here. So you can try some different rotations of the forearm while the the arm is in traction. So this is what we're doing. We're providing traction at our wrist here and through our fingers. And you should feel that stretch all the way through the fingers, through the forearms, pulling up in toward the elbow. Try wiggling your fingers out while there's that traction applied, and rotating the elbow in and out a little bit. You can play with this stretch. You might feel it all the way up into the shoulder even, depending on how much traction you're applying here, and that is okay. Just kind of play with it, see what feels good, see what gives you space at the hand and wrist there. We're switching sides, once again pinning those fingers down, trying different things, rotating the forearm and elbow, pulling out so that we have the space at the wrist all the way through the hand and fingers there again, and trying to wiggle those fingers out, trying different movements and seeing how our hand and wrist feel as we apply that traction. All right, very good. Next, we're going into a simple wrist extension stretch here. So what I want to do is spread my palms as wide as I can. I'm going to roll the shoulder blades down and back, and I'm leaning forward over those hands and wrists as far as I can while the palm is staying planted. Okay, so even the thumbs, we want to look at the thumb joint, making sure that the thumb is not bent, making sure that that is straightened out as much as we can. And you should note that my elbows are rotated in toward my ribs. So right now you're looking at my elbow pit with the elbow tips trying to hug my rib cage. We want this full rotation. We want full extension of the arm here as we work on extension of the wrist. Now, to add a little bit to it, you can keep that extension and kind of roll up in a wave into the fingertips as you are leaning over the hands there. And if that's too much, just take your time, go where you can, and feel that stretch. From there, we're going to actually continue to work wrist extension, but we want to add the rotation of the shoulders. So we're going to turn our thumbs outward, rotating into external rotation of the shoulders. Straighten the arms as much as you can here. Shoulder blades rolled down and back, chest pulling through. Now, if you want to add some to this, you can pull your elbows actively toward your ribs again, keeping the palm down. This is going to increase the stretch down the front of that forearm. You'll notice this time I'm not leaning forward, but I'm actually sitting back to increase the stretch in this position overall. And then we're going to move into passive flexion. So now we're putting the back of the hands down on the mat, facing one another, so our thumbs are pointed upward. Notice my arm is completely straight here. Now, this is a tough one for a lot of people. They kind of look like gorillas in this position because their elbows want to stay bent. That is compensating for the lack of range of motion that you have in this position. So make sure that you are trying to get your shoulder blades down and back with the elbows straight as much as possible, with, again, the elbows rotating in toward the rib cage. We want to rotate those elbows in toward the rib cage. If you're here, you can play a little bit with the movement, back, forth, up, down, try different positions. It's going to change the stretch a little bit. Or you can even actively roll up on the back of the palm toward the fingers, kind of going into, again, like an ape hand there, and then letting it roll back down. All right, from here we're going into our strength exercises. First, we're just going to focus on extension. What I want you to do is holding the arms at a shoulder height, reaching out as far as you're able to, thinking of extending the arms. Imagine yourself pushing the base of your palm on a door frame while you pull the knuckles of your palm to the back of your forearm. We should get a big stretch through the arm all the way lengthened here. I'm very active. This should be actually pretty challenging depending on how much control you have over that area. And we're trying to continually flex harder and harder from the back of the forearm. So we should feel the back of the forearm pulling those knuckles toward it as the arm extends outward, pushing over 2 pillars, pushing a door frame, whatever you want to think of that helps you get there. Try and keep the shoulders as level as you can, shoulder blades rolled down and back, abs engaged here. Next, take a little second if you need, and then we're coming back out to that iron cross position and going into a flexed position. So now we're working active flexion, and that inside of the forearm by the elbow is where we're gonna feel a strong contraction to pull the palm toward the wrist and forearm itself. So you want to feel like you're trying to touch your own wrist if you can with the palms here. Still trying to keep the arms as straight as we can here as we're working, shoulder blades down and back, abs engaged. It's a lot harder than it might seem, and those shoulders might start to get a little fatigued as well in this position, so we're getting a little upper body work all together here. Alright guys, rest a second here, and then one last time from that iron cross position, we're going to do full controlled articulated rotations here. So we want to roll the wrist through a full circular range of motion as much as we can. So make a fist. If you need to, you can get a ball and squeeze the ball to help you in this position. Still trying to keep those shoulder blades down and back, keeping the arms as level as you can across from arm to arm, and rolling through a full rotation. We're going to spend 30 seconds going one direction, maybe 5 reps one direction, and another 30 seconds going back the other direction. So somewhere in that 5 to 10 rep range each direction there. Again, just trying to max out how big of a circle you can actually make with those wrists here. All right, and there you guys have it, a quick 10-minute wrist stretching and strengthening mobility routine. It was simple by design, but maybe not so easy to execute depending on where you're at, and that's okay. These are things that you could do on a daily basis to help restore the full range of motion that you should have at the wrist and the full capabilities that you should have at the wrist through the system of the arm, even some shoulder and elbow stuff there as well. So if you guys like this video, make sure you let me know by clicking that big thumbs up down below. Take a moment to share this one with a friend who you know has maybe some hand, wrist, forearm issues, anything along those lines, because this would be beneficial for them and you should share them some love as well. And last but not least, if you have not already, make sure you take a moment and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on future content like this. Every Thursday I'm putting out videos showing you how to resolve aches and pains, prevent injuries, and overall optimize your performance inside the gym and outside of it in the day-to-day. And it doesn't get much better than that. Welcome to the Stronghold Army, guys. We'll catch you next time.